If it goes south, unlucky.
Hello, could you pause the recording kindly? Hello. Good afternoon. Hello. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, could you please stop the recording?
Sure.
Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you are. Welcome to yet another ADA Africa event. And today we are in partnership with RisqPro to host yet another webinar. This time round, we have a training on cybersecurity awareness. I see you all, and there are still a lot more people coming in. Please introduce yourselves by name, country, institution, if any. Also tell us your research interests or field of study, your expectations for this training. Today's training is on cybersecurity awareness. We've only had one such training before by a member of ADA Africana Journal Club. And so this time round, we've had a bigger audience joining in order to learn together with us. Today, I am honored to have RisqPro, a company that began in the year 2013 that has been doing amazing work in the entire field of information technology. And I can see actually our presenter is here and also his colleague is here. So I'm going to read the profile of the presenter, Dr. David Njoga. He has a wide experience in the practice and research of enterprise information technology or enterprise IT governance, specializing in IT value delivery, performance measurement, resource management, strategic alignment, project management, process integration, and business continuity management. He has over 20 years experience in the information communications technology or ICT space, having grown his profession in systems administration, network management, and security management, making him an accomplished, talented, and knowledgeable ICT professional with extensive knowledge of designing new ICT solutions, systems administration, network management, information security assurance, and information systems audit to improve business productivity and efficiency. He has worked in the Kenya Defense Forces in major IT functional roles between the years 2003 and 2010. He's also been a consultant for Kenya Airways, KQ, between the years 2010 and 2012 as a business continuity analyst. He also worked for Eastern Africa Standby Force as an IT officer, among many other large corporations. He is a master practitioner in frameworks and standards, which are quite technical, and I cannot manage to pronounce all of them, but a few of them are about ISO certification and RisqIT, among others. So he's very passionate about teaching, capacity building, and mentoring, like this session today. He has actually given this training to several other organizations. So we are very honored that he also accepted us to come in for the training. So he's currently the lead secretariat of the National Cyber Security Training Program, NCSTP, at ICRAL Innovation Hub. He has undertaken several part-time lecturing assignments at several universities, KCA, JKUAT, Masai Mara, JUST, where he's actually just completing his doctorate and awaiting graduation. That's the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology. In addition, he has facilitated numerous workshops, seminars, and conferences, both locally and internationally. So Dr. Njoga holds a Master of Science degree in IT, specializing in information systems security and audit and networking communications from Strathmore University. And he has also completed his Doctor of Philosophy in Information Technology, Security, and Audit, and is awaiting graduation. In addition to being a certified information systems auditor, that's CISA, and associate member of the Business Continuity Institute, he is a member of several other bodies, such as the Information Systems Audit and Control Association, ISACA, the Business Continuity Institute, BCI, and the Institute of Risk Management, IRM. He got his career foundations from BSc Information Sciences at Moi University, and he majored in Information and Media Technology. So in a nutshell, he is a cybersecurity governance practitioner, scholar, and mentor at RisqPro Limited, which is his company, and he is the founder of RisqPro. So Dr. David Njoga, we are really honored to have you today, and you are welcome to make your presentation, after which we shall invite the audience comments and questions. Meanwhile, if any of you have any question regarding clarification, or you need to know more about something that is being presented, feel free to type in the chat. Otherwise, let's keep our audios muted. As usual, we have always been a good audience. We don't need to be reminded this. So you're very welcome, Dr. David Njoga. And I forgot to say, my name is Dr. Wangari. I am the lead mentor of AIDA Africa, Africana Journal Club, and Research Mentorship Collective. At AIDA Africa, we provide research and research mentorship programs. Dr. Njoga, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr.
Okay, welcome. Feel free to switch on your video if you like.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I will not switch off my video today, not because of a security reason, but because of an operational challenge.
That's fine.
Yes, otherwise, to the other participants, accept my greetings this afternoon for those who are in the afternoon time zone, and for good morning for those who are in the morning time zone. I understand that our audience is spanning across the globe. Now, as I've been introduced extensively, I don't need to say more to that. Just allow me to manage time by just immediately putting up a presentation. But before that, I'd just like to, notify the participants that this is one of the exciting sessions that we like doing. This is the month of October, and globally, the month of October is a cybersecurity awareness month. So we as a RisqPro, we take the opportunity, given that this is part of what we practice, to extend this message to our colleagues, our neighbors, our friends, our family members, so that they may also benefit from the kind of care and controls to secure the various information assets that we cherish. I was able to review some of the expectations, and I believe that we are going to cover all of them, if not most of them. And for those that may not be covered extensively because of other challenges, such as time and maybe the depth, I extend an olive branch. Feel free to contact us even after this session so that we may give you more information. You heard Dr. Wangari mention that I started my foundation career in Moi University, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Information Sciences. And one of the key principles that the then dean taught us is that never sit on information. Share it as much as you can at no cost, all right, all the time. So let's feel free to share. We'll share some of these notes at the end of the presentation. Then again, we're also extending, let me say, niceties to our audience. Those who will stand with us for the rest of the program to the end, we are going to issue with certificates of participation. So remember, participation is full. So those who drop on the way will not be eligible to this beautiful offer. Remember, we are a company that is accredited to many professional bodies of knowledge, and therefore we're recognized as a professional service provider. So without much, I'll encourage you to, to stop us or to stop me at any point during the presentation so that you may ask any questions or seek any clarifications and so on and so forth. All right, I believe you're good. And in case you lose me, technology sometimes fails. In case you lose me, like technology normally does, also feel free to promptly raise us through the chat or any other communication channel so that I don't speak to myself. Virtual platforms can be very tricky in most circumstances. So I think so much about me has been said, so I won't go into that. But really, what are we going to talk about in this program? This activity brings, I think, so many practitioners. I am told you are a team of researchers from various disciplines and so on and so forth. So really, I know from time to time you handle information in one way or the other. Apart from research, I know you also participate in other activities where information is handled, both at a personal level or at a corporate level, including even some of the, the family activities that you partake and so on and so forth. So we look at information in consideration of it being the lifeblood of all organizations, including the family. All right. Information is knowledge, and knowledge is power. Interestingly, information has joined the traditional factors of production. I think while growing up and while going through school up to, I think, the first bachelor's degree, we knew the common factors of production include land, labor, and capital. But now information has joined the list of the factors of production. Now, if you look at the current global landscape, we've seen conflicts in other parts of the world, people fighting for resources, if you look at the Gulf region, if you look at Ukraine, Russia, if you look at, other parts of the world where there are huge conflicts, people are fighting for resources. But in the 21st century going forward, the new frontier for conflicts is in the fight over ownership of data. So there's a lot of interest in data. This is personal data, data for organizations, data for corporates such as patents or intellectual property, and so on and so forth. Therefore, it is something that is of interest for all of us to focus to protect. People are really interested in your data. Where are you now? What are you doing? What's your account bank statement? What, where are your assets, etc. Therefore, there's need for everyone to be trained. We know we have technical people who are proficiently trained, but we must also have all users of information undergoing the training. And that is why we are here today. Now, in addition to that, information is at risk from many sources. They're the bad boys, of course, and the bad girls who want to access your information. We have corporates, who are also have enhanced their corporate espionage. They want to steal patents, formulae, research findings, and so on and so forth. We also have, various liabilities that are associated with the breach of information. So we really need to protect information against all the risks that it is exposed to. We also need to understand the risks and appreciate what are these controls, what are these countermeasures that we may subject to various information assets so that we protect them optimally. I'm using the word optimally because it is very difficult to provide 100% protection of information assets. So participants, don't worry, we are going to speak English throughout. So we'll try to avoid as much technical jargon as possible because this is an awareness program. Therefore, we need to speak to the most, using the most basic language so that we get the concepts in the easiest way possible with minimum struggle. Again, cyber threats are increasing in complexity and intensity. You know, if you watch movie and you see how Ukraine and Russia, unfortunately, are bombarding each other using missiles and so on and so forth, I can also share with you that the complexity and intensity with which cyber threats and cyber attacks are bombarding our systems, our phones, you know, banking systems, supermarket systems, academic systems, you know, government systems, is so huge and scary. All right. Then again, cybersecurity has become an activity which has had a commercial dimension to it. People are interested in making money out of it. People are interested in using it as a tool to pushing their other agenda. Consequently, we find that you know, there's increased funding, you know, for undertaking of cybersecurity activities. But again, internally, you know, I'm not sure about the budget that you have within your research organization, but I can bet that the funding for cybersecurity solutions may not be adequate. All right. Then there's lack of cybersecurity visibility and controls within organizations, and from time to time, there is a requirement. There's a real push to comply with regulations. I think one of the participants requested to
ask a question. Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Dr. Joga, this is not about research, but recently I'm in the process of collecting money for a funeral to bring a body back home. So I noticed as soon as we began this, people kept putting themselves inside and then putting into brackets that they're admin.
Okay.
What is all that about? Then we kept just deleting and removing them. But it was really a scare. Quite a number of people would just write their name and then say they're admin after joining the WhatsApp. And it really scared me. What is all that about? Is it connected with what you're teaching us? It's not, that's not a question about research, but I got concerned about that.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you very much. And yeah, to other members, feel free to ask such kind of expenses. Like I mentioned, cybersecurity is about your personal security as well as corporate security. So yes, I know experience with the WhatsApp group. I think we've borrowed a leaf from other parts of the world where, you know, sometimes the kind of information people share, you know, may be subjected to certain, may expose the team members or the group members to certain legal liabilities. So what people normally do is that people believe that you know, if you have one admin, then is only the admin that should be responsible. You know, just like when you go to Facebook, you find groups that are have been created, but you need to agree to conform with the terms and conditions and regulations of that group. So in WhatsApp, where people communicate, sometimes it is a group for collection of funds, but sometimes somebody can use that platform, you know, to propagate some other, you know, ideas which are not part of that, political, religious, and so on. Yes,
Thank
and that
you.
could not be accepted with the group. Yeah, so it's about people avoiding. It's like people preferring group punishment, your responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. So at the bottom of this slide, you can see there's a missing link here. All right. Anybody who can answer that puzzle, this small puzzle?
It is saying that security is incomplete. So it's saying that without, okay, with you, that means that security is incomplete with you.
Yes, and that brings us to here, why we are here. All right. So practically and over our experience over time, we've seen a lot of technical solutions have been implemented and they really work. A lot of technologies are available and they work. You know, a lot of policies have been implemented, a lot of regulations, a lot of guidelines have been developed by organizations and they work. But there's that one single person that one single element that makes all these efforts to be the weakest, and that is you. And that's why
Sorry,
we're here.
Dr. Njoga, please maximize the slide, F5, so that we can. Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So it is you. And as I point at you, please also point at me. You know, who is the weakest link in every security chain? It is you that I will tell that, please, I found this document, which is confidential, in the CEO's office. It's about you. Please don't tell anybody. And it is that you that will broadcast that information on social media before even the communication is officially, released to the stakeholders. So, having said that, again, within this framework of our presentation today, this is what I just like talking about in terms of expectations and the reality that within the information security environment, sometimes the expectation is that we expect this, but the reality of the ground is actually a different ball game altogether. So I would like us to focus on our personal lives and how we handle information assets. And within our organizations, I think all of us work maybe primarily or secondarily in various organizations. Let's also focus on what else, where our strengths and where are our gaps, so that at the end of this, you can take some of these lessons to our friends, our family members, our colleagues, and even back to our organizations. Like Shakespeare said, that expectation is the root of all heartache because of the disappointment, which becomes, expectation divided by reality. That's mathematical. So for those who are mathematical, I'm sure you're able to understand that. Allow me to demystify 3 common concepts that some of which we'll be using in this discussion interchangeably. The first one is IT security, information technology security. We also have information security. Then lastly, we have cyber security. Okay. Now, for the avoidance of doubt, our discussion today will be on information security, which combines both cybersecurity and IT security. In brief, IT security is a protection of technology. Look at the software applications, look at the hardware applications, look at the platforms such as servers, storage, and so on and so forth. Networking, that is what comprises IT security. While cybersecurity, from the word cyber, I know cyber has been a word used over many years. I think there are some facilities which are called cyber cafes. We also have the cyberspace, which comprises of that which we call the World Wide Web, the connection of connections, the interconnection of the networks within a local area, within a metropolitan area, within a region, and within the global space. Therefore, our concern here is about information security, which comprises of both cybersecurity and IT security. And we are talking about all information, whether it's in electronic format or in non-electronic format, that is manual format. It could be hard copy. That also comprises the scope of information security. I've mentioned the hardware components, the software components, and we are all aware that mobile apps proliferation has become too much. I think all our phones, if we are honest with ourselves, are already filled up in terms of the storage because of the too many apps that we download. Apps for games, apps for mobile loans, apps for navigation, apps for fitness, apps for learning, and so on and so forth. So all those become part of the concern within the information security landscape. Now, for the Christians and then for the non-Christians who read history, I think that photo or that caption looks familiar. But we're talking about anybody who would like to explain this in 10 seconds.
Okay, the 2 ladies who had babies at night, and then one, dead babies, and then one turned and slept on her baby. She killed her baby, so she exchanged with the other one. And when they came to the man of God, Solomon, of course, he had to decide who needed to have a baby. So the lady who had killed her son was quick into saying, you cut the baby into two so that each of us can have. But the mother whose baby was ours, she said, no, please, you'd rather even she gets a baby. Something like that.
Yes, it's something like that. So it draws analogy in terms of cybersecurity that we must have a commitment to protect our value, employees' value, as well as customers' value, because it's that value that is embedded in information. We must also have a proper asset ownership. We must identify who is the owner of this asset and classify it so that we can protect it adequately. That mobile phone in your pocket, who owns the application that is running mobile money transfer system? That medical report, that is generated at a health facility, who owns it and who should protect it? And what is the nature of information that it has that makes the protection of it very, very pertinent? Therefore, that requires us to, consider what we call the strong controls of information. And these controls, they achieve these 4 core objectives, one of which is confidentiality. We shall define it in a short while. I know we've used these words. We also have integrity, availability, as well as non-repudiation. Now, non-repudiation is that factor whereby you cannot deny having done something, or you cannot deny ownership of an asset. Like in the case of the child, and in this caption, if it was supposed to be subjected to scientific tests such as DNA, then the real mother would have been scientifically identified. So information assets need to be given strong controls to ensure that when you make a phone call to somebody and you threaten them, that is illegal. When you access somebody's account or somebody's private information without authorization, that's a breach of the same. If you're in academia, like some of us are, and you enable a student to access the academic management system and increase their score from C to A, then that's a breach of integrity of information. So those are some of the concerns that we need to focus on within the information security environment. Now, in the cyberspace, this is just illustration of what it is, the interconnectedness of the various networks, the various systems, and the various users across the globe. This is what, whereas it was a good thing, we are calling it a global village. In my opinion, it has brought a lot of trouble to people because of the fact that somebody from, let me say, a country like Lithuania or Kazakhstan or Pakistan or wherever can actually access the research that you are doing in your office, and even, still part of the content to make them do whatever else they want to do against the proper authorization channels. This is also the platform that enables somebody to buy a book from eBay or to subscribe to certain e-commerce applications in any part of the globe. So despite its great and rich advantages, it also brings a lot of trouble because it means that cyber attacks emanate from every part of the globe. Now, what is the value of information? What is the focus on the value of information that makes us, demand to have it protected? Just like that classical author said, that a man's judgment cannot be better than the information on which he has based it. Okay. And to be honest, I think for the Kenyan colleagues or participants, and even our colleagues from other parts of the globe, you can attest to me that executive officers have made serious mistakes out of data that is not accurate. I think in Kenya, we've had, people complaining about getting erroneous results from the O-level exams and many others. We have seen boys being admitted to girls' schools, all right, to join Form 1, and vice versa, because of errors that are available or that are generated within computer systems. Therefore, we need to ensure that there's continued availability of information systems, that there's integrity of the information stored in those computer systems. We need to ensure there's compliance to applicable laws and regulation and standards. And I think towards the end, I'll mention briefly some of the common laws that we have in Kenya and in the globe that are regulating cyber security. Then it is also important that we ensure compliance, adherence to trust and obligation in relation to any information relating to the identified or identified persons. We also must preserve confidentiality of sensitive data. There's a lot of sensitive data which is personal, which is corporate, which is societal, and so on and so forth. It is our responsibility that the confidentiality of that data is maintained. Now, one of the participants asked, why is cybersecurity or cyber threats, why are cyber threats increasing? Or why is cybercrime increasing? One of the reasons why it is increasing is because of the increased digitization and automation. Therefore, from the previous slide that not the previous, but the earlier slide on the cyberspace, you can see that the global village means that attackers, that a system can be attacked from any part of the world. There's a bigger attack surface. Therefore, we are at more danger. Businesses have automated processes. Human resource management process has been automated. Supply chain, financial management systems, examination systems, patient systems, or clinical systems in hospitals, and so on and so forth. That becomes, a major opportunity for increase in cyber threats. I mentioned increased interconnectivity. Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Mauritius, South Africa, Egypt, and many countries are boasting of having the largest, or one of the largest, rates of internet connectivity up to the villages, up to the houses. In Nairobi, in major cities, you talk about home fiber and so on and so forth. So those are some of the opportunities for increase in cyber threats. Mobile computing, we are carrying a very powerful computer in our hands, in our pockets, in our bags, in the name of a smartphone, in the name of a tablet, and so on and so forth. And that is also one of the opportunities for increased cyber threats and cyber attacks. There's broadband. Broadband means that we have very fast connectivity. We have very large superhighways in the cyberspace where data can move quickly, where people can, run processes to compromise our data and our systems. What this means is that it is possible for someone, for example, to access the laptop of Dr. Wangari, which could be having some stored data of reports, of research papers, of HR records as huge as 2 GB, and have it, copied to some place outside that workstation in only a few seconds, if not microseconds, because of the capability of broadband. Then there are so many tools and techniques. For example, if any of you is having a password of any system less than 12 characters, I am able, if I'm given the opportunity, that is, to crack that password in less than 25 seconds because of tools which are available, some of which are freely downloadable from the internet. So those are some of the factors that make cybersecurity, increase on a larger scale. Now, there's some of the terms that I've used from time to time, and we'll continue using them, but I would appreciate if we took them to have their right context and meaning. In terms of cybersecurity, a threat is that actor, that thing which performs a cybersecurity incident, that person that runs that command to steal your data, okay? It is that application that steals your data. It is that cookie that has been embedded with malware to steal your private information. That is what we call a threat. Vulnerability is that weakness, I'm not sure, but I hope that all of us are running operating systems and application systems such as Microsoft Office and Windows, which are licensed. because if they're not licensed, then it means that you're missing out on the security fixes, and therefore your system is vulnerable to cyber attacks. Impact, we shall look at some of the impacts of cybersecurity, some of which you know, including loss of data, loss of money, and so on and so forth. So this section talks about various categories of cyber threats. We have errors and omissions, all right? And this is something that is typical. You've seen this like, like an engineer that fixes your car, but does not tighten some components so that it falls off, and you're able to call him again to come and fix it at an extra cost. So what we're talking about here in terms of errors and omissions is that IT people sometimes, may not do some systems well. So we have backdoors in operating systems. We have bugs in softwares which may be exploited to compromise our systems. We have fraud, we have theft, we have sabotage. You have seen data centers burning down. You've seen people stealing hard disks containing critical information about the organization. You've seen people cutting connectivities, fiber optic cable to a city, can be sabotaged or can be cut. We have malicious hackers, people just malicious. They want to disrupt your systems. They want to steal your information and so on. We have industrial espionage, a competitor finding out. Look at a beverage company wanting to know what is Coca-Cola developing? What is Huawei developing? What is Safaricom developing? What is the commercial bank developing? So that they're able to steal that business plan or business strategy or new product and launch it before their competitors. We also have foreign governments, performing their security and intelligence operations through espionage. And that's something that I think all of us are privy to as part of the global, the geopolitics of the global space. Then there's also a major threat or major threats to personal privacy. Now, what do we do in the event that, we are so much in danger of various security threats? What can we do? Now, we talk about information security controls, comprising of those measures that you need to put in place to either deter a threat before it occurs, to prevent it while it is occurring, detect it so that you can know what is happening, that you're being attacked. It's important also to know that, to correct it. This is an instance where you've been hit hard, you've lost your data, you are now running up and about, your network has collapsed, your confidentiality has been breached, and so on and so forth. How do you correct that? Then there's recovery. How do you repair the damage that has been created by the cybersecurity attack? And how do you compensate for some of those, what you call the control weaknesses? Okay. Now, this diagram actually depicts what we call multiple layers of cybersecurity. Security must be implemented in multiple layers. In the normal life, if you're a VIP, I'm referring to a very important person, or you are a VVIP, which means a very, very, very important person. I know you appreciate some of those people in the society because of their status, social status, economic status, and so on and so forth. If you look at a typical VIP's home, okay, maybe would one of us share with us, how do you see the security of a VVIP's home in a city? Any volunteer, please? I'm sure all of us are VIPs, so we also have the similar arrangement of multiple layers of security. How do we secure our homes from the perimeter fence?
The VIPs have police.
Okay.
We use padlocks and lockups.
Okay.
And we use CCTV.
Yes.
Then
Electric
electric fencing.
That's not just copying my mind.
We also
I
use
ensure that I
our
double check
dog.
anything that I lock.
All right. and so on and so forth. Let me take you through a typical, as you approach a VVIP's home, you find a perimeter wall, which is 9 or 10 feet high. On top of it, you find a razor wire, which is entangling electric fence over it, okay? Then at some corners of that perimeter wall, you find CCTV cameras for surveillance. You also find intruder alarm systems so that if you try to break that wall, then the alarm will go off. Then you come to the gate, you find a serious Nigerian type of gate. It is very high and very thick metal, automated. All right. You find security guards there, both unarmed and armed. Then you find a very serious German Shepherd, actually a pack of German Shepherds there as well. Okay. And then you have to identify yourself before you get in. Then you get in, now you find the door, the inner door, the windows, and many other things. You find a safe for, storing valuable items such as license, firearms, banker's check, some little cash of money in the internal treasury, and many others. So think about those multiple layers of security, because the person needs to have his or her personal space and also protect his or her personal assets. So in terms of cybersecurity, we talk about the various layers of security: deterrent, preventive, detective, corrective, recovery, and compensating. But we have three kinds of security. One is administrative. These are the soft types of security controls. Policies, you find a warning that premises under CCTV surveillance, no entry, okay? Leave policy, no going for leave unless your leave has been approved by the line manager. Those are administrative controls. Then you have technical controls, firewalls, antivirus systems, backup systems, etc. Then you also have physical controls, like the many that I explained at the residence of the VIP. Okay, so look at that scenario. Now, and again, just doing a recap in terms of where we're coming from in the 90s, I'm sure most of us started interacting with computers not many years ago, but proficiently just a few months ago. Now, in the 90s, there were very few laptops, very few servers, very few cell phones, which were just having basic features. Therefore, the attack surface was small. The interconnectedness was also minimal. That has since changed. Now we have a lot of, I say a big menu of devices which are connected to provide a lot of information systems. And that is why one of the reasons why cybersecurity is improving, or sorry, is increasing. We also have adversarial capability. Before, you'll find just one disgruntled employee sabotaging the company. But now we have what is called cybercrime, cybercrime as a service, where people could sit somewhere, in some apartments, they're able to break into banking systems, into circle systems, and make money. Somebody is able to blackmail people, to to kidnap, let me say what we call ransomware, to attack systems and hold them at ransom and demand ransom in order for the system's availability to be released to you. So again, the capability of criminals has increased. Cyber criminals have become more organized and more capable given the tools. And the convenience for a failure of a system is much worse. It's worse today than it was before. So people will lose money. There'll be legal repercussions. People will be taken to courts. I know Google has been sued many times in Europe, multiple times in the US, because of breach of personal information, which is seen as confidential. I know there are people who have also lost credibility and reputations, organizations. I know of an airline, no names, that has lost reputation because of somebody was able to expose some of the information that was internal to it. Let me share the information without sharing the airline, because I don't want to harm the airline further. This person was a disgruntled engineer of an airline, and they were complaining about poor support, or poor support for the maintenance of the aircrafts, that the management were not buying spares, and they were also overworked. Therefore, they were saying that a lot of their aircrafts were actually not airworthy, which means they're not fit for air travel. So the day they exposed that information, that expose, the local civil aviation authority moved in to do their routine inspection. And actually, the fleet of 25 aeroplanes were grounded because of that. So that is an action I'm talking about, loss of credibility, but also it could also be blackmail because the engineers were feeling overworked and underpaid. This was sabotage because, yes, it led to loss of business operations of that company. And lastly, you can see that was disclosure of confidential, sensitive, or embarrassing information. Actually, that information was shared on Twitter and Facebook. Very embarrassing for an airline that was, holding itself to be profitable and to be offering quite premium services in the global aviation space. All right. Now, allow me, I won't talk about so much of this, but you may just take notes of some of these logical access exposures. There are quite a number of them. Data leakage, wiretapping. It's popular with all in communication systems where we have physical connectivities. There's something called Trojan horse. Trojan horse is actually a type of malware that is notorious of being installed on our systems, and it steals data. So the moment you see those emails with attachments or links asking you to fill in your details so that you can qualify for a green card in the US, which you did apply for, or to key in certain data so that you can redeem the money that you have won in let me say in a lottery you didn't participate in, then Trojan horses are some of those malwares which are used in that space. So there are many others, viruses, logical worms, and many others. These are technical, so I don't want to spend so much time on that. I had promised we speak English in this session. Now, again, there are things we need to get focused on, which are major cybersecurity concerns. There's what we call hoax, urban legends. Last night, I saw a lot of communication on social media in Nairobi, Kenya, that Mount Longonot was having a volcanic eruption. Whether that is true or not, I am not aware. But again, those are some of the things that could be hoax. I think last week, people talking about Monday being a public holiday. Sorry, this week being a public holiday, and there was a Gazette notice which was fake to that effect. These are things that we're calling hoaxes. So let's be aware of how to identify hoaxes. Urban legends. Urban legends are the fiction people play in urban areas, that can be misleading. They could be fake news. They could harm people. They could also, create what we call unnecessary fear, hate, and discordant, and so on and so forth. All right. Let's also identify ways of preventing and responding to identity theft. Actually, one of the biggest threats to cybersecurity is identity theft. If I know, for example, Abdullah is a Somali citizen, and being a Somali citizen is entitled to access to certain areas and certain privileges. So I, David Njoga, who is a Kenyan, I want to steal the identities of Abdullah, passport numbers, telephone numbers, even employment details, social security numbers, and so on and so forth, so that I can masquerade to be him and also enjoy the privileges that he's entitled to, being the person and being a citizen that he is. All right. So let's also understand some of these activities, some of these challenges that happen within the cyberspace. Now, a lot of times, let me share only one or two out from this slide. You will see, especially Android phones or laptops, that your laptop is slow or your phone has got viruses. Then it brings you a link to click to scan. When you click that link, it will scan, and it will obviously discover several millions or thousands fake things and tells you your device is infected, please download this free software, this free antivirus to clean it. And when you do that, you realize that it will ask you for some payment details, especially using credit card or banking details and so on and so forth. On one hand, on the other hand, it will also attempt to steal some of your data, that device that we're using. Then there's a common attack that we call social engineering and phishing attacks. Okay. As I take a sip of water, I would like to invite my colleague Francis. I hope he's still in, just to highlight in a minute or less social engineering and phishing attacks. Francis, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Francis.
Okay, so social engineering is basically a way of tricking someone into doing something that can lead to them being exposed. For example, if the examples you gave earlier of someone giving you information that you've won the lottery to maybe be a part of the lottery citizenship in the US. In the recent past, we've seen people trying to maybe apply for this in an attempt to maybe get a better future there. So an attacker having this information knows that you really want this. So he's going to use this opportunity to tell you that, hey, you've won. So to get your prize, click this link, or maybe let's meet at such a place to help you maybe move further with your application, or maybe send some money to this number, or maybe reach out to me through the following information. So when that happens, if you don't have the right information and training, you are very likely to be tricked or hoaxed into doing some of these things. So this is just some of the social engineering we've seen out there. And sometimes it's even as simple as someone who already knows you. Maybe it could be a friend. Sometimes maybe you've even gone out to have fun and then they have your M-Pesa PIN and you having to trust them as your friend. You end up that they use your details to pay for things that maybe you wouldn't have done if, say, you were maybe sober. So social engineering is a very serious issue because most of the time it happens from people that you know, and most of the time it takes advantage of the fact that you are desperate for something or you really want something very much. So it is just recommended that you be very careful of the links that you click. If something seems too good to be true, 90% of the time it is too good to be true. So you need to give it a second eye before you maybe get duped into revealing your personal information or getting tricked. And we've seen this even increase tremendously online because of the rate at which information is transferred around from one person to the other. So those click wheels you see online, or those free offers, the bonuses, the Black Friday that is coming currently, those are some of the opportunities for malicious people to social engineer you into revealing your payment information. So you might want to look into that. David?
Yeah, thank you, Francis, for that. Actually, he has covered out of other things that we'd have wanted to share further with you. But notably, you can see then what we do. What are some of the things we need to do in order to protect ourselves? One is that we need to understand how to protect ourselves from malware. Some of those myths, social engineering, people are too good to you. They want to be caring, offering you free lunches and so on and so forth. Okay. We need to think about cyber hygiene and cyber culture. How are we conscious about our security? Our passwords. Do we write our passwords on the yellow sticky notes and put them on our walls or our notice boards on our screens? Do we talk to strangers and share with them our pins that they're willing to help us do 1, 2, 3 things from our service providers? I mean others. Above all, I know we are all adults under 18, over 18, and we could be having children or children within our neighborhood. How do we keep children online? All right. How do we safeguard our data? And many others. So let's focus on some of these basic best practices so that we can protect ourselves online. Now, back to organizations. I know most of us are managers, team leaders, we ask ourselves some of these basic questions. How secure is our organization? How much security is enough? Okay. How do we know when we have achieved an adequate level of security? What are the most cost-effective security solutions? How do we determine the risk? And many others, including what impact will security solutions have on productivity? Look at a case study. When a commercial bank's systems are down at the moment, at the peak, I noticed end month, people are transacting salaries, withdrawals, purchases, payments, and so on. What would be that impact of that outage of that commercial bank? Then at the end of the day, we must have an alignment, of the business. We must manage our risks adequately. We must derive value from our security investments. We must measure, monitor, and report on the performance of our information security processes. We never have enough resources. So the little we have, we must use them adequately. And we must consider process integration. Above all, one of the basic information security controls I talked about as being administrative is information security policy. So in our organizations, do we have information security policy? Is there an objective from the top defining what we want to achieve? What the management intends to achieve in terms of information security protection? Are there roles? Who is supposed to do what, when, and how? And are there resources for the same? Okay. Now, the last component of our discussion this afternoon is on access control systems. Now, information or data is somewhere, wherever it is. It's either being captured in a device or in a system. It is stored, it's being processed, or it's being transmitted to point B. So what can we do, to protect that information? So access control gives an individual or an organization the ability to control, restrict, monitor, and protect. So let's focus on the example of the VVIP's residence that I talked about earlier, where you must be, there must be restrictions on who's entering where. All right. Now, given that, then we focus on various types of users who have different access levels. All right. Various users have various requirements. The manager requires different levels of access. A guest requires different levels of access. A subcontractor requires different levels of access. Then do we have resource classifications? In government, I have worked for government as an employee and also as a consultant. Look at the types of classification of documents: secret, top secret, confidential, and so on and so forth. Okay. Look at the corporate environment that is continuously changing. So we need to focus on, let me call them, 3 key principles of access control. One, that give what we call the principle of least privilege. Even in your houses, there are those privileges that you need to assign to members of your household. Give them the minimum privileges possible. Then there's what is called separation of duties. Let somebody who is doing data entry within your companies not be able to change that data once it has been reviewed and approved, because that becomes an opportunity for fraud. Let's learn to share information on a need to know basis. Okay. I am a responsible citizen of Kenya, for example. I know there could be, if I'm invited as a journalist to cover the cabinet meeting, for the Kenyan government as a journalist, then It means that there's that which I'll be told or which I'll be given as need to know. There's that official communication that will be released to the public. All right. Let's learn to provide access control on a need to know basis. Now, some of the practices include having strict enforcement criteria, having passwords which are strong, and many others, among other technical control and physical controls as well. Okay. But above all, let us focus on these key principles of access control. One, let us take the fundamental principles of information security, that we must protect information against breaches of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. For those who may be wondering if CIA is that intelligence agency, no, CIA is the acronym for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We also need to focus on identification of people, of data, of information. I think we gave the narrative or the analogy of the ladies who are fighting over baby. We must know who is who within our organization. I know we have usernames, we have passwords, we have staff numbers, we have even staff IDs or badges for the purpose of identification. Then we must have authentication. The identification provided must be verified. Is it what you are saying it is? Are you whom you are saying you are? What's your name? My name is David. David, can I see your ID? My ID should read David. What's your ID number, Mr. David? I should say an ID number that corresponds with what is in the records. Then it is after that I should be provided with authorization to access that particular. The last control principle is non-repudiation. Whatever I do should be traced to me. I should not deny that I did not do it. That is very, very important. Okay. So I've just talked about identification, that we should have, each value should be unique for user accountability. If you have 3 Johns in one organization, interestingly, there could be 2 Johns with the same name, like if they come from the same area. We have John Joroge and John Joroge. So have some uniqueness. John Joroge Kamau and John Joroge Murithi, and so on and so forth. All right. The other thing is about how do you authenticate our users? So we talk about authentication factors. We have 3 common authentication factors of users. One is something a person knows. All of us, we have passwords, which we know. We have pins for our ATMs, for our phones, which we know. Maybe just as for a quick question, how many of us share our pins, our mobile phone pins with our spouses?
Why share?
Okay, well, I was trying to say yes or no, but I've gotten a challenge. Why share? Anyway.
No.
No, that's a light note. But on another question is, how many share ATM pins with people we trust? Pins for ATM, debit cards, credit cards?
Never.
Yes.
Yes, some I've had 2 different answers, never and yes. Never is a good answer. Yes, read the back of that card. It is illegal to share that pin with somebody else, all right? That pin is for the bearer of that card only. Now, the second factor is something a person has. We have access cards, we have keys and many other things. The third factor is something a person is. Biometrics, fingerprints, iris, okay? Safaricom has got a biometric technology for authentication. How many Safaricom subscribers use it? Why they say Safaricom, my voice is my password.
My password.
Apparently, it is the most secure of the factors for authentication, but many people do not use it. Now, in summary, we are saying that for a strong authentication to be in place, we need to have at least 2 of those 3 factors. So have a password and a biometric feature, have a password and an access card, or have a biometric feature and an access card. because the two of them will provide you with 2 layers of identification and authentication, which cannot be easily compromised. Now, I think I'm almost done. It is important that as an organization, from time to time, we assess where are we in terms of our cyber security maturity assessment. This assessment is done in terms of what are the controls that we have, how adequate are they, and how effective are they. So we take this through a cycle of 6 stages from 0, where you have now processes, to an initial stage where you have an ad hoc, you are firefighting. You've been hit by a virus, you can't open your documents, you are calling consultants in town, please come and help us. You have a server, you wake up one morning, every data in it has been wiped out, you are calling consultants, please come and help us recover our data, firefighting. Then you move into putting up some processes, you define them, document them, you disseminate the process to other people, you manage them, you put some monitoring and measurement controls, and now you adopt the best practices at level 5, where you are optimizing the practices. So you need to put yourselves throughout this cycle from time to time. So we like encourage organizations to embed. I know you have internal audits, even external audits for various processes, but embed cybersecurity audits as part of those processes so that you're able to see, to have a maturity assessment. Where are you? What are your gaps? And what do you need to do? If just talk about this for just 1 minute, I think I have one more slide conclusion. I know I had 1 hour. Actually, I'm still within my schedule. Now, Kenya enacted 2 major laws. One is the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act of 2018, which defines, it sets structures in terms of what are the institutional structures for managing cybersecurity, cybercrime, and what we call critical information infrastructure. So by that, we are referring to what are these information infrastructure that support public goods and services, whose disruption will lead to the citizens suffering. For example, when somebody interferes with the Kenya power systems, then the nation can be sent into many hours of darkness. People will lose productivity, those who need power. People will lose certain items for those who are refrigerating or cooling, and many others. Therefore, it sets out certain crimes and how they're punishable by law. Okay. One of them is that if you take your mobile device and send an insult or a message that is likely to cause a breach of peace and harmony, then you are guilty for a charge such as misuse of a licensed communications device. Also, you can also be guilty of perpetrating speech or media that has caused certain challenges to national security and many others. Okay, so that is one of the acts that was enacted in 2018. Then the other one was the Data Protection Act of 2019. Now this one deals with protection of personal data. I think I saw one participant talking about mobile digital money or digital lending apps and many others. I know that about 14 or 15 that are under the radar from the office of the Data Protection Commissioner in terms of breaching this act and regulations that go with it. So Data Protection Act also came with Data Protection Regulations of 2021, talking about how do you collect personal data and how do you process it and how do you store it and how do you deal with the stakeholders within that ecosystem of data. So like now you notice that we were capturing some of your personal data while registering for this. And we asked you at some point, those who like us to retain your contacts for future communication with the company. So some of you said yes, some of you said no. So for those who said no, as soon as we are done with this session, we are going to expand your details in compliance with the Data Protection Regulations of 2021. So we are also preaching this water and taking the same water. All right. Then we have the European Union General Data Protection Regulations, which has a mandate in the European Union and its territories, which include any area or any data processor holding the data of any European Union citizen. So if any of you is having any personal data of any EU citizen, then you are obliged to conform with the EU GDPR. I know there are many other cyber laws, including what we call KICA, the Kenya Information Communication Technologies Act, which was of 2008, amended 2013, and many others. But in short, I wanted to just highlight on these two local ones, and the other one, the EU GDPR, that is also, it has also shaped how we protect our data within the Kenyan ecosystem. So in conclusion, most organizations should endeavor to make sure that information is available and usable when required, and that systems provide it, and that those systems can appropriately resist attacks. Very, very important. That's the factor of availability. Then information should be observed by or disclosed to only those who have the right to know. And we say that is one of the principles, need to know basis. All right. Then information is protected against unauthorized modification. All right, another factor of integrity. And then transactions between enterprises can be trusted, should be trusted, that is done based on authenticity and the factors of non-liquidation. So that has come, we have come to the end of this long presentation, this long afternoon. As part of recommendations, we recommend that you have regular corporate information security awareness campaigns through any of these media. It could be posters, it could be in intranet communications, it could be physical, it could be contests, it could be like what we are doing, and many others, so that you are able to protect your information assets at an individual level and also at a corporate level. Thank you very much. I think let me rest my case there. We in cybersecurity and those who love sharing information, we call ourselves preachers of cybersecurity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please do avail these slides, this wonderful presentation, perhaps on a PDF for security or authorship purposes. This was an amazing, amazing presentation. I'd like to just take everybody's attention to the feedback form, just as our presenter is getting ready to take questions. I have shared a link to the feedback form on the chat. I'd like us to please take a minute and just fill that. It's very short, it's a short form. So I'd like you to please say what went well and what we can improve. Let me see if I can screen share it just for everybody's attention. If you have not seen the feedback form, just let me know. I'll share it again, but it looks like this. We'd like to know, we really value your feedback. We'd like to know what we can do to improve next time, what went well. So just give us a few details, and we are compliant with the laws, as you have mentioned, as an organization, actually, which is why we are not asking even for your phone number, only email. Email, name, institution, how satisfied were you with the event? So just take a minute to rate that. How relevant and helpful do you think it was for your job? How satisfied were you with the content? What were your takeaways? What topics would you like to be discussed in future? And any additional comments regarding the session. All the fields except the last one are compulsory. So please fill in that form so that we get a really good idea of what did you actually learn from today? So I'm just going to share the form again. We do take your feedback seriously. So yeah, we also have a poll here coming up. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing the poll. So let's do the cybersecurity training poll. Number 1, have you experienced M-Pesa scam before? So for those of you who are not in Kenya, you may not know this, but M-Pesa is the mobile money. Safaricom is now having this global money payment system called M-Pesa. So have you experienced M-Pesa scam before? You can answer that. Number 2, has your social media account, e.g. Facebook, Instagram, ever been compromised or hacked? Have you ever lost money through online scams? So do submit just 3 questions, the poll. And once you do, it will automatically pop up a message, poll submitted, thank you for your participation. So we'd like to take a lot of your sharing. So I can see a lot of comments saying, thank you, Dr. Njoga, very informative, quite informative. This was very good and informative. And I must add, it was quite timely for us because we are now just complying with the new data protection law, and we have actually revamped our entire platform in order to be compliant and to be more cyber secure. So I see a lot of people introducing yourselves. Somebody is asking for the feedback form. I will reshare it shortly, Humphrey. Then now we have quite a number of questions, a lot more comments. It was informative, amazing, helpful, and many more wonderful comments. So thank you very much, Dr. Njoga. So we do have a number of questions in the chat. I don't know if you would like to read them on your own and take them one by one, or do I read them for you?
Yeah, it's just them out so that we can respond to those which are already responded to. I think my colleagues are also able to respond to some of them.
Sure. So there's a question from Vincent Accord. I think someone answered, yes, you're right. Are the strokes also a security check mark? I think that one is the Zoom whiteboard had some marks, so that was not a security check mark, Vincent. I don't know if you were saying it on a light note, Vincent. Then Samuel Chavachai says, when you borrow money from the online money lenders, e.g. iPesa or eCash loan, how do they access contacts of friends or workmates, and they start sending them texts that you have not paid the loans? So that's a question from Samuel. There is many more. Do I read a few, then you'll take as a group, because some questions are related, or you take one by one?
One by one, so that we don't lose track.
Sure. Samuel Chabachai has asked that question. So when you borrow money from online money lenders, how do they access your friends, workmates, contacts, and start texting them that you have not paid up your loan?
Yeah, I think mobile apps are, let me say, notorious in quotes, that one of the terms and conditions that they want access to your contacts, to your data, to your messages, and everything else. Then in that process, they're able to actually, let me use the word snoop so that you could appreciate. The way, we save our contacts sometimes makes it very easy for someone to know. For example, if I'm constantly talking to Dr. Wangari, somebody would know that we have something in common. We know one another, either professionally as a colleague, or we are friends, or we are family members. Therefore, if I default alone, then the person, one of the candidates to be harassed to pay my loan is Dr. Wangari. So it is one of those terms and conditions that we accept to comply with while we are subscribing to those apps.
Yeah, I agree. There are so many algorithms that on the back end will show who are the people you have talked to. There's a footprint, as you said earlier, there's always a footprint of data online. And I think Francis also answered, he said, money lending apps get a copy of your contact list whenever you register with them. It's one of the permissions the apps need to operate. They, however, do not have permission to share these numbers or contact them. So it's the hackers who get into those contact lists. Yeah, thank you so much. Then Paul asks, how does one know that their personal data has been exposed to cyber attacks?
Paul, there are many ways to this, depending on the kind of data that has been exposed. We have seen blackmail, where somebody gets some data, maybe in terms of your assets, and then now, you get held at ransom. We've seen kidnapping having been quite dominant in, I think, a few years ago in Nairobi and other major cities. So somebody's able to get
aside from blackmail and kidnapping, how else would you know? Like, if I'm just seated here, how would I know I've been attacked? Or is it only when I get like physical evidence that I've been attacked? Otherwise, I am assuming right now as I'm sitting here that everything is safe.
Yeah. But possibly, I think when you invest in security controls, you will be able to know if there are any activities, any malicious activities, exfiltrating data from your device.
Or meaning, if you don't have any security, then you have no idea. You actually are leaving your information at risk.
You are exposed, and you are living by the grace of
Then Paul also asks, how do we escape? Yes, please continue the question, Paul. Is that Paul you want?
No, that's this is Francis.
Okay, yes, Francis.
I just wanted to add on the how to know if you've been hacked or if your phone number or email has been part of a breach, or maybe it was in a certain folder which has been exposed. So currently there are some websites that are offering you a platform to be able to search if maybe your email has been seen in some maybe documents that are being sold on the dark web or such kind of places. So one of those websites I've shared in the chat, it's called haveibeenpwned.com. So you'll just enter your email on that website and do a search, and then it will look across all the repositories online. Then if it finds a match of your email or your phone number in any maybe black market for data breach, it will tell you. And if it doesn't find it's there, it won't. But maybe that might not be foolproof because maybe the data has not been put for sale, so you won't know. But it's just one of the ways of checking.
Yeah. So, and Paul asks, how do we escape from these cyber intrusions, which I think you have given us quite an extensive explanation on that. And then Russell Linsiundu says, when opening some website while researching, you may be asked to accept cookies so that you can be able to access that information. Is it advisable to accept all cookies always or to decline?
Francis, would you respond to that, please?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the cookies are both a good thing and a bad thing. Good in the sense that it helps you load websites faster. Say you're doing a research and there's some material that you've already opened. So next time when you want to refer to it, your web browser won't have to reload these pages again. So it will save you the speed. But also be careful because some things like things you've copied on your clipboard, some of the information you've provided on other sites, this information can be within the cookies. And if someone can be able to access your cookie information, and your cookie information contains your personal information such as emails, passwords that you've entered in sites, they can be able to copy these credentials and use them in the same sites or in other sites elsewhere. So it's just good practice from time to time to clear your cookies and then only accept cookies that are, let me say, permitted or within the law. And currently, if you be keen to read some of those cookies, it will tell you then there are types of cookies you need to accept and those that are only if you want. So personally, I'd suggest that go with the least minimal cookies that need to be collected to avoid any issues.
So only the necessary ones, not all of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that conservative, approach. So Jacqueline Miner asks, what is your comment on storage of patient health data and use by different bodies? For instance, NHIF and health facilities.
Okay, most of these organizations that handle your health details, say NHIF and even hospitals, they have a mandate to use this information to give you service. And legally, they're supposed to tell you how they use this data. They're not supposed to share this data. And once they start doing something that's outside helping you, which is maybe treating you, or if it's a doctor, giving their fellow doctor your medical history to help them with medicine prescription, if they do something that's outside that scope, this should be illegal. And that's why of late, you've seen the Office of the Data Protection Commission trying to really narrow down on these data controllers, that's how they are called, to make sure that they are using the data for the mandate that has been given to them. So for you, you can just make sure that you produce just the information that is necessary. And the ones that they already have, then there are legal measures in place to make sure these people are accountable to who they're sharing the data with.
Okay, thank you. Fatma Mohammed says, thank you for the enlightening session. What should I do if I find out that I have been pwned?
I'd say, first of all, change all your passwords just to be sure. And then if you don't know that you have been, also still change your passwords regularly, because that is, I'd say, is the most foolproof way. Just keep rotating your credentials in sites and practice good credential hygiene. That basically means don't store your passwords where someone can get them, like as Dr. David was saying, on a sticky note somewhere, or on your desktop, or even share it with your friends. So just keep rotating it however frequently possible, or use password managers that will basically help you generate a secure password that even you don't know. So chances of someone else getting it is very difficult. So
Yeah.
I'd say the first step is not to have it out there, but if it has been gotten out there, change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are no data police that somebody can report to if you're pwned.
Actually, there are.
Okay.
Yeah, there are platforms like the KESAT and the Kenya Communication Authority has a platform. If you go to their website, the KESAT website, you can report a data breach, or even anything relating to your information being leaked. Or if you feel that one of these data controllers, say maybe NHIF, is not using your data properly, you can lodge an official complaint on their website. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Please share that website. I'm sure many people know the Communication Authority of Kenya website, but you can just share it if you can. Then okay. Namataka, I see you have a question and you've typed it. How is fingerprint biometric different from finger vein pattern biometric?
Okay, I'm really not sure, but I'd say probably it has to do with the technology being used. For fingerprint, you just find that maybe it's the image of that fingerprint. But now the second one, I'd say probably it has to do with the actual pattern of how the shape of the prints on your thumb, or maybe the finger that you're using. So basically it has to do with the technology that's being used to capture this fingerprint. Is it an image or physically tracing those patterns?
All right. And then there's a question from Pastor Dorothy Obengo. How do we clear cookies?
Okay, this depends on the type of browser you are using. So for most of them, you just go to settings. Usually there's the 3 dots at either the top right or the top left that will take you to your settings, then to security settings. then there you'll find an option to clear your browsing data or cookies. Or you can just use the search button in the settings. You just type delete cookies, and then in the search results, you just click on that, and it will help you clear the cookies and hopefully log you out of most sites. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
Good.
You're welcome.
And then Vincent Record asks, how many years should digital data be retained? Please share a brief process of the destruction or disposal process. So I'm not sure if he's asking about research data or corporate data. Maybe Vincent, you can give us some context. Is this in terms of research because we are a research audience, or are you talking about corporate? Or generally digital data?
Yeah, but before it clarifies, allow me to respond to that.
Sure.
Data retention really depends on a framework that is guided and embedded within the internal policies or the statutory regulators. For example, the Financial Act, dictates that you should retain financial information for a particular duration of time. I think it's normally between 6 to 7 years, because of the requirement at a later time for forensic audit and so on and so forth. If you look at if you're a medical service provider, then again, the Health Act also has got that provision of how long you need to protect that information. If you're in academia, then that is also provided. If you're a private practitioner and you are the one collecting the data, like we collected your data for the purpose of this webinar, I think our policy is to destroy it immediately, what we don't need. After this meeting, we're going to destroy the data that we don't need. And the one that we're going to retain, it's also within a additional period of time. I think there's a guideline under the data protection regulations that you need to know for how long you are detaining somebody's data for, and you are going to use it for that purpose for which you mentioned or for which you consented.
All right. He says, thank you, very helpful. He was asking about corporate digital data. So that was really useful. Yeah, thank you for the link on how to report an incident on data breach of security. So I'm seeing a lot more thank yous on the chat. Some people asking for the notes, the slides. So will you avail us the same?
Yes, we will share. I think even this session is recorded, so we'll be able to share it with those who want to get more insight out of it.
Thank you so much, RisqPro. It was such an amazing session. We are right on time, and I thank you all in the audience for joining in and for your lively participation. So if you would like to contact RisqPro in future, I think Dr. Njoga, you'll be at liberty to also share your contacts in case anybody would like to know more or engage in future. In any case, we all have received an email, so you'll be able to get in touch for further inquiry. So I'd like to hand over back to you, Dr. to close the session.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. for that insight. Just before we close, we can share the results of the poll. Some 33% did not participate. I don't know why, but it's okay. But those who participated, you can see we have those 68% have confirmed they have been scammed via M-Pesa before. That's quite a huge and alarming number. In terms of the social media, you can see 35% have confirmed that yes, the social media accounts have been compromised or hacked, and I think that was part of the expectations of some participants in this. And you can see also 58% have lost money through online scams. That's very worrying. So probably we need to find out how much money was lost. But money is money, and if it's lost, then it becomes a bit worrying. So if you allow us, because we believe in sharing information, maybe from time to time, we'll be sharing with you certain insights to help you and the members of your organization to continuously protect your information and be less vulnerable to cyber security attacks, because that is the greatest challenge that we are having at the moment. Otherwise, for my side, I wish to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share with you our gospel, cyber security, and the diversity has been quite impressive. I believe from the comments that were flowing, most of you were alert. That is also a very rare gesture, on a Friday afternoon, especially on the last day of the month, like today. So I would appreciate your participation, the kind words, and we hope that you are going to make use of the knowledge that we shared, the tools that we've shared, and feel free to reach out to us anytime you need any assistance so that we can keep our cyberspace better. For those Kenyans and those who are not Kenyans, we have an obligation to defend our cyberspace. Remember, there's no police policing the cyberspace. So it is you and I. So let us do the correct things. And in case of any challenges, let's report to the authorities so that we can improve our cyberspace. Currently, I think we have a digital economy being part of the ICT docket. So it means that the cyberspace has become a very, very important platform for pushing socio-economic development of a nation. So that is it for me. And thank you once again for the opportunity. And I wish you well in your endeavors. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does the Zoom account record who attended live so that you can capture attendance for those who are receiving the certificate? Or will you send us a link?
You can send a link.
Okay, and some people are also asking for your social media platforms, YouTube, any way to reach you online. So you can share that. Thank you. So let me share the link. If you would like a certificate, please fill this form. And there is definitely the social media handles. So I'm sure you have now seen on the chat the social media handles, and everybody has now received the link to register for the certificate. So your certificate of attendance should capture your name on that link. So please ensure to record your details in order to receive your certificate emailed to you. Some people have joined us Oppo, so we don't know who you are. All right, thank you very much. I think we can stop recording for now.
Just 1 second, I shared our LinkedIn page.
Yeah, we had really good representation from different countries. I saw lots of people from Kenya, there was Nigeria,